Hi everybody, it's Miss Historius. I'm here for a little bit of an art history lesson before we get started on our project today. So today we'll be talking about a painter named Claude Monet, and specifically a series of paintings he made towards the end of his life, in the last 30 years of his life, when he was living in Giverny. A lot of these paintings were of the water and of water lilies. But first I want to tell you a little bit about why these paintings are important and why Claude Monet is important specifically. So Claude Monet invented Impressionism, which was a movement that dominated art paintings in the world from the late 1800s, to the early 1900s. And this was right in the period when Claude Monet lived. He lived from 1840 to the late 1920s, so he was right there at that time. He actually invented Impressionism. He invented the term because the term was taken from one of his paintings that was called Impression Sunrise. And now Impressionism is defined by, it focuses a lot on where the light is coming from. So light is very visible in the paintings, and you can also see the brush strokes in the paintings. And not all of these paintings take place outside, but a lot of them do, and most of Monet's paintings are outside. He painted the landscapes around him, and this is called plein air painting. Just a fun fact, plein air painting. So he was really focused on how the light in the sky changed the way things would look in the painting. So he did, in the last 30 years of his life, he made over 200 of these water lily paintings, just in different lights and in different stages of his life, because towards the end of his life, he was starting to go blind. He had cataracts, but he continued painting up until the end. So you'll see very late paintings that are a bit more abstract, because even though the memory was there for Monet, he was losing his eyesight. So those are the things that we're going to be going with when we start our project. We will be making some water lilies of our own today, and based on a water lily painting. So what you're going to need today is crayons, a piece of paper, and watercolors if you have them. If you don't have watercolors, that is just fine. But I think we should get started. So let's go.
All right, let's get started, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some crayons. And then, like I mentioned before, I'm going to also grab some watercolors. And, a paintbrush and a water cup. So you're going to need all those things. But first, I'm going to retrieve my crayons and start drawing. So once again, the painting that we're working with is it's going to be Japanese bridge with water lilies. I've got light green, dark green, I've got white, I've got black, and I've got blue, and some purpley pink colors. So I'm going with this asparagus color of green. This was I thought this was the darkest green I had, because it appears that way. I put it in there. It's okay, It's got my lines in there. I'm already starting. But yeah, basically I'm doing two big sweeping lines over the top, and this is going to be my bridge. I thickened those lines, and then I put some lines between them. Testing out this green. Yeah, I'm just kind of filling in those lines a bit more, thickening them up. Do not be afraid to mix different colors of green in here if you can. I think Monet would like it in the very end. So yeah, I'm trying to fill it in a little bit. I'm throwing some vines that are just some curvy lines on the top. Got 6 of them. Filling them in with a light green crayon. I'm hoping those will look good in the end, and I think they will. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a black crayon, and I'm going to go from the top to the side to make a shadow on my bridge. We talked about earlier how Monet is really interested in where the light hits, and on that bottom part of that bridge, the light wouldn't get there, so it would have a shadow, and that's why I'm putting some black along that edge. So you can do that if you like. I think it adds some nice dimension to it, so I would suggest it. I'm going on the other sides, and I broke a crayon because, man, I don't know my own strength. But I'm going on the other side and I'm putting white in there. Putting some white along the top of my bridge just to give it that bright part where the light hits. Gonna go ahead, taking a regular colored crayon, and I'm drawing these little circles. These are gonna be my water lilies. I want you to keep in mind that as you go further up the paper, the water lilies are going to be farther away, so you're gonna wanna make those little circles smaller. So I'm just adding these ferns into the side that I'm just, throwing them in. It's pretty loose the way I'm doing that, but there's definitely a lot of grasses and a lot of growth, so you want to fill it with life. I'm also putting in some little water currants and some smaller water lilies in the back there, like I said. We do need the water lily flowers, of course. So I'm going with a purple, and I'm doing like some little smiles right on top of those circles that I made. And those are going to be my water lily flowers. I went and I grabbed a pink crayon and like a different colored purple crayon because, I don't know, I kind of just want to mix it up with my colors. So I'm going to do that. Going in, coloring them with whatever colors. I put like kind of a zigzag line at the top of my water lily. You'll see that in just a second. Yeah, there it is. Little zigzag line. It doesn't have to match the other crayon line you made. Mine do not match. They're not the same. I don't care. If you want to make them the same, go for it. But I did not. So I'm just coloring in those little water lilies with, whatever color I grab. My desk is getting kind of messy, but that's okay. I can clean it up. Coloring in these water lilies. And then at the end, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put another black shadow on some of the water lilies, but then I looked at it and I wasn't so sure how I felt about it, so I didn't end up doing that on all of them. You'll see here. What do I want to do? Black outline, maybe. Try to make up for it with some white, putting some white waves in there, another indication of the light. Yeah, but I'll go in with watercolor now and see how that looks. Get my watercolors out. I am interested for this. I'm going to use probably some purple and blue, mostly purpley blue and blue. But I'm starting by just putting clean water all over my paper, and I've got a big brush to do this. And a big brush will make it take a little less time to finish it up. Getting some blue-ish purple there, and I'm starting out. You can really see that white coming through. Adding some darker blue, and then I'm going to put that dark blue in the edges because I think that's where it would be darkest. I put it in the top corners too. We're getting towards the ends here, this here, so the watercolor is very loose, just solid colors. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I look forward to seeing them.